Welcome to Digital Dominators, the podcast that helps small business owners grow their confidence, sharpen their digital skills, and actually enjoy showing up online. I'm Sooz Young, your host, tech coach, and digital cheerleader, and every week I chat with brilliant experts to bring you practical tips, smart strategies, and the tools and tech to make business easier. From social media marketing to websites, content to confidence, AI to automation, we're breaking it down into simple steps you can actually use. If you're ready to make things simpler and more successful in your digital world, you're in the right place. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to Digital Dominators, the podcast that helps you cut through the noise, show up with strategy, and grow your business with digital skills that actually make a difference. Let me ask you something. Are you stuck thinking you need to create more content to be more visible online? I think so. That's what we all think. This week's guest is here to flip that idea on its head. Suz Bird is a content strategist, creative mentor, and the founder of Bird and Emmy, a content agency that helps small business owners and creatives make more impact without burning out. Suz's approach is refreshingly real. It's not about doing more, it's about doing smarter. She teaches business owners how to take one piece of content and turn it into 5 or more. So you stop reinventing the wheel and start building visibility that actually works. From podcast episodes and blogs to reels, newsletters, and beyond, Suz is the queen of repurposing. She shows her clients how to make their content work harder, last longer, and reach further without losing their voice or drowning in the algorithm. In this episode, we're unpacking the exact mindset shift and strategy behind the better repurposing and why most content doesn't need to be more, it needs to be used properly, and how to build a system that gives you back time and energy. So let's get into it. Hi, Suz.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you on, but I am just going to put something out there for those that are listening. We've got 2 Suzes on today's episode, and the AI tool for creating the captions for the transcript, whether you're listening or watching this, it's going to be interesting, right? It's going to be interesting. But we'll have 2 different spellings of Suz, but it means we'll have more human impact having to go through it. And
part of the episode piece is they have to guess who said what, and
if they're not watching it, right?
What's that match game?
That works out quite well. But I'm really excited to have you on, Suz. And I think this is such an important thing to talk about, because whether you are a business leader or whether you're part of a team that manages social media content or marketing or visibility of sorts for other people, the biggest challenge is that we feel like we have to constantly be visible and constantly be doing more and more and more. And we know that we're in a world of oversaturated content, and with AI produced content coming out, how do we actually reach the people that we want to reach, but also make it an workable process for you as a business leader or as a team leader? So we're going to get into that in today's episode. But firstly, what I like to do is have everybody introduce themselves in your own words. Tell us, how did you get into content strategist as well as creating Bird and Emmy, and obviously changing, but you'll share a little bit more about that, changing and moving to Scotland from South Africa as well.
Yes. So I've always been a marketer, actually. I wanted to go into journalism and marketing when I was 16 years old, a very long time ago now. At the time, Vogue used to run this competition where you could enter articles and you'd win an internship to New York.
Wow.
So I was born and raised in Cape Town, South Africa, and at the time still living at home at high school. And this was my dream. I was going to move to New York and write to Vogue.
Am I hearing The Devil Wears Prada come out here?
I mean, I don't even think it was out then. For context, I'm 44, so this is pre-Devil's Wear Prada.
Yeah.
And what I decided is I was going to finish school and I was going to go to uni in Cape Town, and then I would move. So that's what I did. Finished up, went to uni. I did art history, computers, English, industrial psych, communication. And at the time, computers were just new. We're talking mid to late-ish 90s now. They were, I was the very first cohort in the high school where computer was now a subject you could take. This was all very... So went off to uni, and then I thought, right, I'm going to travel. I'm going to take a gap year from uni, and then I'll start working. Still wanted to be in marketing at that stage. And my older brother lived in Aberdeen. And I thought I'll move in with him for a few months and then I'll go traveling. That, Suz, was in 2003. So I like to say I'm on the longest gap year in the entire world, I'm sure. I'm 22, 23 years into this now. What it meant is when I landed in Aberdeen, I started working in marketing almost immediately. I worked at the exhibition centre at the time. I started in the catering department, took a job in admin to just start being in the industry. That stage, marketing was all encompassing. So events and marketing were one thing. And, your event team did your marketing, did your sales. It was everything. And I started volunteering in the events department to gain experience. And it was very cool, like wedding shows, Christmas fairs. We integrated a student fashion show, health show, all these cool things that have come back, but that were considered old for a while. And from there, I moved to Chamber of Commerce, still marketing. I worked in the international business department, and we ran a group that helped UK companies internationalize into West Africa. And then it was the same, running events, writing newsletters, writing. At the time, it was for magazines. Websites and online stuff was just becoming a thing. And I think we spoke about this in our previous chat, that I remember when we were then moving the magazine online. And the IT department printed out all the codes for JavaScript for us, highlighting, this is how you bold a headline, Suz. This is how you place your paragraph, because it was my job to, there wasn't obviously a big department. You were like, cool, you're the marketer, get that online. So that was my first taste. And this is still early 2000s of, okay, so here's the thing. Now it's here. Now it's there. That, it was an article, for example, I'd written for a magazine, and it was, that needs to be in different places. So what does this look like? What's the strategy behind that? What do we actually want people to do? Career then progressed, various in-house marketing roles, various agency roles, and dabbled between the two until I had my daughter, who is now 16. I took some time off after she was born, and this was around Twitter boom stage. So 2009. The kind of rise of the make your own blogs was big back then. So I created a blog, and I started writing for this blog, and I started using Twitter, and it was that whole write your blog, get it on social. And at the time, Twitter was my news source. That was my everything. Didn't have time for a whole bunch of others. And that, what I would refer to as playtime, got me a job when my daughter went to school in an agency that had just formed its kind of first digital department. And it was a digital marketing account manager role. And they recruited me into that space. And it was a good time to be in the industry. Marketing still set as marketing, digital marketing set here. And how they play together was very cool back then. I think it's harder, that mashup is harder now. And from that space, unfortunately, the agency made cuts and I was made redundant. Redundancy and separation actually came at the same time.
That's a lot.
It got a little fun for a while in a non-comical way, but the opportunities that came from that actually led to me starting the freelance business. I was volunteering for a community project around the time I was made redundant, and they had started a 10K run in the area and they were looking for volunteers. And I said, look, I can't give you physical time with me. My daughter was 6, but how about I do your social media marketing for you, and I'll get this community project online and I'll help you fill spaces that way. So I did that for a number of years, actually. Part of that community work, you need sponsors for a big event like that, right? Big corporate sponsors. So the corporate sponsors that we got on board started reaching out to me going, can you do for us what you're doing there? And that's how I got my first client. And June next year, that'll be 10 years.
Whoa, 10 years later.
10 years later, yeah. And even how that's evolved, which will lead us nicely into this conversation, and how the business has evolved. Because I say 10 years ago was very, put my business on Facebook, get my business on Twitter. And for a few years into the business, it was very social media heavy, which was kind of fun times, but it was very 7-day a week kind of social media, I remember sitting and some nights, my daughter would be in the bath, I'd be set outside in the hallway, like, responding to things because it had this 24-hour feel to it, which thankfully has evolved slightly, but it was an intense social media time. And I think how that has now evolved is the space we're in now, where it's less about more of and more better of.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. What a journey. And I think we could probably have an episode where we just go through absolutely every single part of that.
There's a lot to unpack in there, but I think
a lot of it.
The history of it, I think, is important, because what I'll often say is, I'm a marketer first and foremost. I absolutely love my industry. I've been in the marketing industry for almost 25 years now. I do just generally love it. And the fact that I work in the social media content space now, that's where people consume content. As soon as audiences, target audience, any one of us, like if we go back to pen and quill as a marketer, that's where I'll be. That's what we do, right? We go where the people are.
I think what's interesting as well from what you said is that when people think about social media content, they generally put an idea that it's a younger generation thing, that it's something that young people have just really taken under their wing, and they are just they're so good at technology because they use social media, and actually that's not the case. There's a reason to chat and to communicate with people that have been doing this a long time, because they understand the journey of where we were to where we are now and the impact that the entire online presence has, and that whole picture of your entire digital aspect. And it's not just about the one platform or the online platforms to be able to promote and communicate about your business. And so your history really helps that.
Yeah, I think it matters. And I do a lot of work with the unis, or I go into schools nowadays and talk about that, because I think the mashup between what I call the next generation of marketers and my generation of marketers is so important, because there is a tech limitation, if you like, to what I bring to the table. Like I'm very interested in it because of my job and where my passions lie, but that takes a lot of hard work to kind of get up to speed, where the younger generation of marketers would do that faster. And that's cool. I think the mashup between them is awesome. So I try and put a lot of time into the uni and school model for that very reason. But, the strategy that they teach at uni nowadays is the same from the strategy they taught in my day. The strategy doesn't change, but the implementation based on your experience and then your new age model, like that's a cool combo.
I think it's taking the things that have worked in the past and the reasons that they've worked into what you're able to do now with the platform. And so we can go into that in a little bit more detail. But let's talk about really what that kind of content strategist really means, compared to just being about content in itself and what that looks like. So how would you differentiate the two between content and content strategy?
So the content strategy piece is one of the kind of words I use to describe what I do at the moment, because it's taking the everything, all the content on any platform, and it's almost divvying it up to where it's best placed to serve your business. I mean, that's where I guess the strategist piece comes in. I would always ask, I often joke, my two favorite words in the business is why and it depends, because the marketers can never give a yes, no, right? Everything depends. And the other one is why, because the business owner will come in and go, I need more content, Suz. And well, why? I need to be posting every single day. Why?
I need to be more visible.
Why? Like, what are you going to do? Like, literally the other day, somebody had posted something and said again that the other room's not making my content go anyway. I'm posting every day. And I was like, well, why? What are you going to do with more visitors? What is your business actually going to do if you get more? The majority of business owners can't answer that. They think more equals better, more equals success, more equal, the more people see my content, the better my business does. But it's not necessarily true. So that's where the content strategist piece role will come in. What is your strategy? What do you want? What does your audience want? What converts? What's the buyer's journey? All those strategy template questions that business owners don't often stop to think about, which isn't it criticism? It's not their job, right? They're not marketers.
Well, I think that's where like business owners and business leaders think, and this kind of founder mindset is that they forget that they wear all the different hats in their business. And actually marketing and sales are different, however they work together. And putting that kind of like 30% of your time, investment and income into that to reinvest into your marketing in different ways, whether that be imagery, video, audio, all those different ways that people can interact with media. But it's having the mindset to approach it in that way. And a strategy isn't really what they align themselves with. And this is the conversations that I have, is like, does that relate back to what your business goals are, right? What's the strategy of the business? Where do you want to be as a business, or where does the business want to be? And you be part of that business in that sense.
Exactly, because your business strategy will drive your marketing, social media, content strategy. You know, it's not the other way around. It's not more visibility equals a business. And one of the kind of biggest thing a business owner will walk away from a one-to-one session with me is just like, yeah, it is hard, Susan. Yeah, well, it's a job. It's, you know, I'm not trying to do your job and thinking, God, why can't I pick this up in a day? It's a job. It is hard.
And it's not it's a long journey. It's a long game as well. And I think people forget that what they are shown via advertising on the platforms, that somebody has done this really quickly and they've generated this amount of income from it. It's not true. It's not real life. It's not exactly how it happens.
It's not. And it's, you know, that's just what you see. Like, you know, it's that famous iceberg meme, right? So you've seen that viral moment or that big sale or that, you know, business went from, you know, 0 to 6 months success, but you didn't see behind. And you also haven't seen the future. You know, those viral quick success pieces are either evolving as a business in 3 to 5 years, or they're no longer a business and they've started a new one. So it is a long game, and there's a sustainability piece in how you grow your business like this, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of things that I bought in early stages of my business, that those, you know, you were targeted by the ads, you went through the funnel steps, and then you made that purchase. If you go and try and access that piece of content now, it's been obsolete. It's not accessible. The website's gone. It's gone. And it was only set up purely to generate the income that the person required in that way.
Yeah.
To more people. So it's not, yes, that's a strategy in some way. However, it's not the long-term goal that goes with the business, right?
No, it's not going to, you know, and that's not to, you know, strategies evolve, brands evolve. Of course they absolutely do. But it's when they no longer serve and die and you have to start again. That's where you're just now reinventing every time. That's not going to serve you. That's exhausting.
Yeah, hard work. And I think that relates then to, okay, we've got, let's think about a strategy. Let's connect that to what your business goals are. Let's make that what your marketing is. So where does the content sit within that? And how does this repurposing word that we're going to talk about as well,
we're going to use a lot. So it much like you said, they are layered. So we've got, you know, your business strategy, then obviously your kind of marketing thing. I would then break it down further into where does your time and energy sit. In the conversation with the business owner, I would always separate social media and other marketing. Now, I personally think social media is part of the marketing toolkit, but as marketers, we're often further ahead than business owners in terms of language. So I separate the two when I'm talking to a business owner. It's easier for them to, what they can digest, they can implement. So business strategy, then we kind of go into the target audience piece, you know, once you figured out all the business pieces, including financials. And I think it's important to say that because the financials help, you know, what do you need to make every month if you like to support your family, whatever that looks like, because that's your business. Target audience, then it helps you make decision on where do you go platform-wise. That helps you make decisions that don't mean you follow the trends, because we can't talk about content or repurposing without talking about the trendy stuff. And if you're very clear on your strategy, it helps you make that no decision as well. So target audience helps you define the strategy, and it helps you choosing your platform. Using my hands a lot, you'll get the gist of working with me. Choosing your platform, then it's choosing the kind of content they consume, right? Sometimes you'll be, you know, a marketer will go, well, blogs are totally out of fashion, but maybe your target audience read blogs. So you should be creating blogs. That's time consuming, right? So how do you then take that blog? What is the fundamentals of it? And repurpose that in other areas, be it a newsletter, be it a conversation as a one-to-one, be it on a social media platform. Now, I think it would be amiss of me to be saying do one platform and do it well, because the way we consume at the moment, I don't think any person is on one platform anymore. We are dipping, whether we want to admit it or not. We all like to think we have really good social media habits, but if we break through that, we are dipping, right? So I don't think one platform done really well is hugely effective. But I think if you're repurposing big pieces of content that tie into your business objectives, you're doing good service, you're doing good work. So part of what I'll do with the business owner is I call it the content cycle. I like circles and arrows.
Mm-hmm.
So if we think of your big piece of content that sits at the top, and I say big because it's maybe the one that's taken the most time to create, not necessarily right. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's a big new service you designed. It's something that's taken the longest. That's your big piece. Where does that need to go to then deliver a product, deliver a service, whatever it is you're selling? And even if it's as much as taking a piece of paper and then drawing arrows, I could break that down here, I could break it down here, I could break it down there. The next step is understanding what the delivery of that content means, because if we think of a launch is never going to do well as a post or a launch piece, right? But the follow-up to that launch, that's where your power comes in, right? So if all your time and attention has gone into launch, how can you strip the big parts out to keep talking about the thing that doesn't take up time, creative, resource, budget for you as the business owner? There's a lot.
As a creator, I used to spend hours re-recording voiceovers to get the perfect tone. But finding reliable voice talent, booking studio time, and editing takes forever, and it can break the bank. That's why I recommend 11 Labs. It generates ultra-realistic AI voices and even clones your own, all in seconds. With natural-sounding speech, multilingual support, and seamless text-to-speech conversion, 11 Labs powers podcasts, audiobooks, training modules, and more. No mic required. Ready to level up your audio? Try it free today at allmylink.me/TC11labs and bring your scripts to life with 11 Labs.
There's a lot of that sounds really great, right? But practically, people will go, oh my God, that just sounds a little bit overwhelming. Like, how do I actually do that? Because all I want to do is just focus on that one piece of content. Maybe it's a blog or a podcast or like a video that they're putting out. How do you then break that down into the other pieces that are required to be generated? Yeah, practically for that busy business owner.
There's two parts to that. The first part is if we kind of stripped it back to the beginning. So a business owner will come to me and go, I'm doing all the things, it's going nowhere. My social isn't building a community, it's not converting, or I'm writing all these blogs, no one's seen it, So there's that bit of frustration. In that case, I would get them to strip back to strategy, and then I would work with them on content pillars and content themes. Get them to go right back to the FAQs. Give me the 5 most popular FAQs. And not the FAQs you've designed. Go back through emails, go back through your WhatsApp, go back through your DMs. What are people asking you for when they come to you? What are the words they are using? Because those are your FAQs, right? I get them to focus on one thing as well, because it can be, let's just say you've put an event out. You go, my event is here and it's there and so-and-so's coming and then this is going to happen. And that's not one thing. That's a lot. Yeah. Go to your FAQs and then split them up, because guaranteed one FAQ probably has 2 or 3 within it.
Like a multiple sentences to that one answer, right?
Yeah. So now you've got some really cool content ideas, right? Now I go content themes. Think of the time of year. So maybe somebody's asked you about, maybe it's relative to outdoor, but it doesn't work unless it's summer, right? So that piece of content's not going to fly at Christmas. So park that. Make a little Trello board, make a Notion, whatever it is you use, post it on a wall and put that in summer. Now you're starting to plan, whether you realize it or not. And the more you break that down, seasonal, quarterly, monthly, next thing you've got maybe 2 or 3 solid content ideas in a month That's the start of your plan straight away. From there, it could be as simple as opening up a calendar. Now, again, buy one from the shop if you want to go old school. Make an Excel sheet, make a trail board, I don't mind. But if take up any calendar and work backwards, so that's happening on this date, that's on this date, that's there. Those are 3 posts. What do you need people to do from that? I need them to go there. Right, so that's the second post. You've got an action. Do you have a testimonial for that thing? Right, that's your 3rd post. So suddenly you've got quite a cleverly created content plan from one thing. Then you're going to have to go into your insights, be it insights on social media or data that you've got from any piece of marketing, and understand what is delivering. Now, if you've never looked at any piece of numbers before, you're starting flat line, stuff's going to go high, stuff's going to go low. We're looking for patterns of highness. So, what is resonating? In today's world, we can probably guarantee it is something human delivered. There is a face.
Yeah.
How do you then make that work for you? How do you do more of that to then deliver that content message? So that's one way. That's when they don't really know. It's all just, I'm creating all day, I'm posting 7 days a week. That's to strip it back and get them to start planning and seeing. The other version is having a piece of content in place. How do you then repurpose it?
Mm-hmm.
Today's world, AI makes that very easy for us because you can have a good chat with any of your AI model of choice. I've done this. Here's why I've done it. Here's my audience. Here's where I needed to go. Here's what I wanted to do. Help me split this out. And AI will do that for you. Now, word of caution, it'll do it for you. Please use your human strategy brain and tweak that. But it is a very, very viable way to repurposing content in today's world. The old school way that, I say old school when you're talking about 3 years ago is sometimes I would...
It's not old school.
The olden days in 2021,
But there is like a pre and post pandemic behaviors on how you do things.
There is totally, because the digital language is made more commonplace now. We've worked in this space a long time, both you and I, that pre-2020, this was very common. I would have chatted to you all day long pre-COVID online, but it does mean the language is different. So you can say things like that. But even as I say, if AI you're not comfortable with, I will say get comfortable, but also print it out and get a highlighter if you really want to. If you post it and a little highlighter, you will quickly start to see that one thing has multiple key messages. And again, go back to your calendar.
I think taking it into that practical aspect of actually physically doing it with pen and paper works really well to get it, understand your brain and how the brain works in that way, to then use it into technology. That's what we talk about. And then use the tools to be able to help you to do it. Because the technology is a tool and it's not a replacement. So the AI should never be the replacement for your human interaction. But the pen to paper, the mind mapping, the highlighter, those physical aspects of going, how do we break this up? And then communicating it, if you're able to communicate that back and forth to yourself, sometimes is what you have to do.
That's it. Because I think in that process, that's exactly the one I do. But what I'll often use is Otter is my one of choice, but others exist. I read my notes back to myself. And even if I've mind mapped or I've scribbled or, I read it back, put it in something like Otter, I get the transcript, and then I can go, through AI and go, right, split that up. Fine. What have I said on repeat? Pull the theme that's come out of this conversation. And some of that is just multiple post-its. So that's often I'll teach business owners too. If you find AI scary, just talk into something. You talk what's in your head. They don't need full sentences. They don't need, hey, how are you? Just talk.
Yeah.
Because, for business owners, it's in their head, right? The other one that comes out in the repurposing conversation is I did that last month and it didn't go anywhere. No one liked it. They've put their hearts and soul into something and they put it out and go, no one went there, so I won't be doing that again. And I'm like, well, no one saw it. The algorithm hates me. No, the algorithm, it doesn't hate you. You've just done it once. How do you know what I was doing that day when you put it out? Maybe my coffee machine broke and it was a total disaster and I couldn't pick up my phone, so I didn't see your content, not because I didn't like it. I just missed it. So put it out again, tweak it. try and figure out why it didn't resonate. Was the time of day? Was it, should have been a video? No, a still image. Make it a carousel. See, there's so many different options now, but turning away from something you put out and not going back and redoing it, we're doing ourselves a disservice for sure.
Yeah, I think with the amount of what we don't have control over is something that I think most business owners want to control, and they forget that social media specifically is a platform that they are using completely for free to be able to generate an income, to run their business, to do marketing from. So they do not have the control over how that works. Even if you invest in ads on these platforms, you still have no control. You have some things, dials that you can set in place for it, but you still have no control over it.
No.
So it's important that when you're spending the time focusing on your content and your strategy that meets and aligns with that kind of like structure of your strategy and how that works, is that you don't do it that disservice, as you said. You go back and you work out, right? Look at the data, see what's working, what's not working, and repurpose it. And that's why your schedule and your strategy works.
Absolutely.
It, right?
Don't try and control the uncontrollable. Marketing works with people. Uncontrollable variables are off the scale, but there are stuff we can control. So figure out what you can control and figure out, I guess that's where the strategy piece comes in, and that's where the mindset piece comes in. Because if you understand what you want from the platform in terms of target audience business, what you need from every post, because no post is created in isolation, right? They should all be part of a thing. So even if one post goes out and it maybe didn't meet your let's be honest, endorphin expectations.
Yeah.
It
Ego.
doesn't matter.
It's the main thing for it.
Like, we all know it feels good, right? It's designed to feel good. To your point, like, these social platforms are businesses, right? They're not charities. We absolutely know that. It's their job to keep people there, right? It's not their job to make them go off and put their phone away and read a book.
Even though they should probably.
Well, yeah. Read more books. But yeah,
no,
it's the endorphin piece. And then we get like, God, I put myself out there and, no one liked it. Well, that's, I guess, the mindset as well, is it doesn't matter. I'm not talking about the whole trolling crisis comms type piece. I'm talking about something that just didn't land. Like, it doesn't matter. Next week, you'll post again about the same subject, different creative, same message, same call to action. Maybe that will land. Your job is not to make social like you. The job is to run a successful business.
Yeah, and start that conversation piece online so that people can communicate with you offline in that way. And then you can make your return on that time and investment that you spent on the platform.
Exactly. And I mean, that concept as well, and you'll know this, and numerous of your guests have said very cool stuff around this. People buy from people, like, that's bring back the social aspect. And I read a really cool blog a few days ago, even, where it was talking about social is no longer for the people. Businesses have taken it over. Now, in one way, that's positive, but in another way, businesses take over something. They want to template it. They want to kind of, how do I package this up to make this as like less time consuming for me as the business owner as possible? But that's not going to build relationships. That's not going to, no one's going to want to like something that a business owner has shoved out in less than 2 seconds because they have other stuff to do.
I also think people forget that when they're creating content, that it's for somebody else. It's not for them.
No.
Right? Social media, right? It's not about you. It's about them. And that's why you're creating the content. And so when you focus and shift that mindset to focus on the people that you're serving, which is why you've set up your business in the first place, to help people solve problems, I would hope that's why you're doing it. It's about them. It's not about you. So take that focus. And that goes back to your business goals. Take that and put that into your strategy when you're posting content, and think about the conversation that you want to be having.
Exactly. I always say you're talking to one person. You're talking to your ideal customer. You're one person. And when you start to think about your one person, it does start to feel a little bit easier, the content creation piece or the repurposing content. You're talking to one person. It strips away the whole, oh my God, everyone's looking at me as well. And it helps in that piece. Like, you're not creating content for yourself. And the truth is, as business owners, we get bored of our stuff way before our audience does, sick of our face.
It's not about us, it's about
It's
them.
not about us, no.
It's
And if,
not about
if I
us.
stopped and thought about that every day, God, I wouldn't even have a business.
I know, maybe just self-centered in that way.
No.
Yeah. But the repurposing thing you touched on
Yes.
there when it comes to AI, and we know that using AI is a time saver when it's trained and you're effectively communicating with the tool effectively. And there are some really great tools out there. We're exploring one at
100%.
the moment called AI carousels, that when you upload a piece of content, whether that be written or video, it will generate a PDF structure carousel that you can then, of course, post on all of your platforms. And we know that carousels are working well
Yep.
across the channels, right? Instagram,
Yep.
LinkedIn, TikTok carousels. So that's a strategy we're looking at the moment to repurpose our long-form
And I'll jump in,
content.
that's it, to repurpose. Carousels are the dream for repurposing. The dream.
And remember that used to be infographics, and somebody used to
Yes.
spend, again, back in the day, used to spend like a day creating an infographic from one report.
Yeah.
Right? And actually a week could be spent creating that infographic.
Absolutely. And then
Oh my
making it
God.
pretty too.
Yeah.
But if you think about even the bit, why did infographics work? Why did carousels work? Because they work on the algorithm because they're creating a pause. They're creating a stop, which is generating more of. Very cool example.
Call that a timeline hack. So you go like this and you're scrolling your feed. This is my phone. You're scrolling your feed and then you go, and you stop. You've been timeline hacked. And then you go, and so something's caught your attention. And so you've got somebody out of that hook. You've hooked them out of that kind of stop in the timeline. And that's a real...
we talk about that in the moment in terms of the age of the pause, and we talk about data and metrics as well. And how do you measure a pause? You technically don't, because the pause, I'm not even touching, I'm just pausing. So, from our point of view, where's the data for a pause? But the impact of the pause on the algorithm and your content is massive. And it's just that. It's, as you say, it's the stop.
The stop and the stop, the scroll and the feed, especially when people are so fast on how they interact with the content. And I think that goes back to then you saying as an individual, oh, that piece of content hasn't worked. We're forgetting about users' behavior and user experience on those platforms. We forget, which goes into what your web presence really looks like. And that's what it looks like on your whole online digital space. So again, we forget.
We do. And that user behavior piece is so, so important, which ties into why repurposing matters, why putting something out once and never visiting again is a bad idea. Because user behavior, we're not seeing it the first time. That's the truth. And it's not because the algorithm is bad. It's not, we're just not seeing it. But we'll see it the second time. We might not buy to the third or fourth time, which is optimistic because digital touch points is obviously, again, way more than it was in the olden days. But, it's taking people way more than one, way more than even five to even contact a business, never mind make a purchase. So if we're creating just one thing and putting it out and never going back, no wonder we're exhausted.
Yeah.
But if that one thing is then repurposed, revisited, redone, that's can only make our lives easier as business owners.
So let's go into that. Let's make life a little bit easier for business owners as well. So what would you suggest if somebody's listening or watching this? What's a good starting point for looking at a piece of content, right? You've done your strategy, you've worked it out, you're creating your one long piece of content. What does that look like? Is it a video? Is it a blog? How do you split that up? What's the process that they can start to do?
I'm laughing because I'm going to start the answer by going, it depends.
It depends. Again, it does depend.
I mean, it absolutely does, because some business owners, they might have a website that is just a shop front. It's maybe just got a about and a contact, and blogging isn't part of their strategy yet. Or, they spend more time on their social media because they know that converts. So that's why it depends. I would get them to understand the long form will always exist in terms of, is it a long video? Is it a carousel post? Is it a LinkedIn article if you don't have a blog? There is a long something that's got all your info in, right? And then it's just olden day, take your highlighter on. Can you get 3 bits of info out of that piece of long form content? You can, definitely. Anyone can, even without a blog, without a newsletter. You can get 3 different points from one thing. And those are your next 3 posts in line to that campaign.
So what kind of posts are they? Are they images? Are they videos? What is do people follow the trends, or is it just let's do this every time? Does it depend? Probably.
It does depend, because I mean, a prime example, everyone's talking of how video is the moment. LinkedIn is having its moment with video, and everyone's going video LinkedIn. Absolutely. Every time I put a video on my LinkedIn, it doesn't work at all. But I put a single image and text, numbers go sky high. So for my audience, they're not consuming video on my LinkedIn. On my Instagram, video goes sky high. So the numbers alone would tell me more video here, more copy there. Now, it's easier for me personally to create a video. So I would start with my Instagram video. I would then take that text, drop it in my AI, and pull a LinkedIn post. I keep loads of images on my phone in different folders. I would pull an image from that and I would drop the text in. So I've now taken a video, which I know resonates with my Instagram audience, said what I needed to say. It's easier for me to be unscripted. And the reason I know this, trial and error.
Practice.
Practice. Figure out what works for you. It doesn't work for me to be scripted, so I don't script. It doesn't work for me to look back continuously over my work, so I get the absolute ick. So I don't rewatch my work. You can quickly tell from a recording whether you've said something that needs to not be in the world or not. Put it out on Insta, as I say, pull the main points, repurpose, get that in a single image text on LinkedIn, and both get results in their own way. So in answer to your question, I would advise any business owner to do the same. You need to run stuff 2 months, 3 months if you can, and you need to let it just breathe. Get your data, do some work, and try. Try your face, try a stock image, try a phone image, try your brand photography. Just try, and try it for 2 to 3 months. You will quickly see what is working, what is not. What is working will look different as well, and then repeat. You'll also then start to figure out, much like I used the example of me then, for me, video is easier to do. I start there and I repurpose. It might be easier for some to write. Cool. Write all day long. If that's your thing, do your writing, pull out your 3 things and try it as video. Video could be as simple as just a little B-roll footage with some text over. It doesn't even need to be you talking to camera if that's not your comfort zone, but try and put it out in different ways and see what lands, see what gets the conversation going. And even if that conversation is in your DMs, even if that conversation is you running to that person in a networking event, they're running to you and you'll be like, oh, Suz, I saw that thing on your Insta. That was a cool conversation. Now, maybe you didn't even like that post. You didn't comment. You didn't DM me, but we're having a conversation. For me, that's still a successful piece of content.
That's what I feel that is missing from what people think about content, is that it's a conversation piece, that it's communicating with your ideal customer and starting that conversation and generating that interactivity.
Yeah.
To be able to communicate with them, whether you keep that on the platform or take it offline.
It doesn't matter. It's still a successful result. You've built a connection, you've built community, you've built a conversation. And I think that's where the data, the insights, the numbers are super important, but also are not. Because how do I measure the conversation we've had offline of something you've seen online that you didn't touch? So according to my insights, that video flopped. But look at this great connection. That's hugely successful. I guess that's part of the mindset piece that would go into the whole repurposing content strategy as well, that numbers matter and numbers don't.
I think the data piece is super important because it's what we experience most business owners don't touch, and it's where we like them to start, whether they are whether they are already running, and what stage that they're at doesn't really matter. But starting with the data helps you understand where you're currently at to where you want to go, what's working and what's not working. And these tools provide that because they want you to succeed. What people don't understand, that even though you're accessing it for free, they do want you to succeed. But you have to follow what the platform's encouraging you to do.
And they give a lot, right? They give a lot. Even, I mean, experts give a lot, but also the actual platform owners give a lot. Like you wouldn't struggle to find straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
So let's talk a little bit more as well about this AI generation that we're moving into as well, Suz,
Yes.
because we've talked about it from a repurposing perspective,
Mhm.
but how do we then stand out in the sea of AI generated content that's coming out, we're seeing on TikTok and Instagram specifically,
Mhm.
and as we're just being constantly fed on a video timeline of content that we never really would have been interacting with previously. So how do we stand out to meet our ideal people on those platforms?
I'm pretty sure business owners won't like the answer, but it's never been more important to be you as a business owner, because, AI can do so much, but it can't do you. And the more AI we do, the more human you have to be successful. So that authenticity word has been in the marketing pool for quite a few years now. I read a book the other day that the Pour Your Hearts Into It, the story of the Starbucks piece, but he talks a lot about authenticity in that book, and it was published in the late 90s. So we, we're kind of going authenticity is overused, but frankly, it's been in the industry for millions of years, and it's overused because nobody really nails it. We're very afraid to be us. Where I think the best way in today's world to build a community online, to build a successful business for you online, or to have content that resonates with your target audience, is to be you. You're going to have to find a way to be comfortable showing up as you in the online world. And that's going to be the best way to get through the AI.
And it doesn't need to be overcomplicated to show up
No,
as you. You
it
don't need to share
doesn't.
your entire life as part
It
of that.
doesn't. No, I use two analogies. The first one is I'll kind of get business owners to think about a box. Now, not the kind of constricting box, right? You're in charge of how big the box is or how small. But even if you literally draw it on a piece of paper and you put in that box what you're comfortable sharing in a public space, right? And that literally helps you define, here's my easy subjects, particularly if you're more comfortable being unscripted. The box helps you just talk. Everything outside of the box is, that's not going in my online world. As I say, box can be as big or as little as you want. Another way I would say is when you walk into a boardroom, he's working style, and you're walking up to people you haven't met before in a work environment, you're friendly, you're professional, you say a few things, but you don't say everything about yourself. And that also helps you define how to show up online as yourself. Because if you wouldn't say it in a boardroom, don't say it online. If you wouldn't say it in a bar, don't say it online. But if you would, then that's cool. You do you. So thinking about pieces like that, and also stripping back even this bit about vulnerability, like it looks different to everybody. It doesn't just mean, vulnerability is cry, vulnerability is breakdown. They're not the same things. You can be vulnerable and authentic in a way that suits you, and you get to define that. So, I don't think you have a choice anymore as the business owner to not, particularly if you want to have an online world that grows to serve your business.
It's almost getting over yourself.
It is. And I can draw the analogies, I can draw the pitches, I can draw the boxes, all the rest of it. And we can be 2-3 months and working together down the line. Eventually, I'm just going to be going, you're going to just have to do that. And you're just going to have to get over it. So let's try that and see what tomorrow brings. Yeah.
It is. It's test it and try, see what works, and then pivot from there. And I think that's where most business owners struggle, because they buy into a trend, or they buy into a strategy that maybe they've bought into, really, because they're buying it.
Sometimes literally.
And then it doesn't work for them, so they think it doesn't work at all. And so I love that your focus is really going to that heart of the strategy of the business. And it really, whatever content you create, you can repurpose it using these kind of methods, but it goes back to who's your customer, this is the strategy, what's the business goal, and the why behind it all.
And it's certainly any of the business owners I work with, once that starts to, get into habit with them, the feedback I always get is like, oh, this feels great. Oh, this is so doable. Then the content creation becomes so much easier. Then now it's just flying off them because they're comfortable. Their mindset's changed. They're not thinking, I need a new post 7 days a week, or I need to post twice a week to grow. No, now they're clear on their strategy. When a trend comes in, it's a very quick conversation. I saw this, it'll be fun to do. Here's how you turn it around. They turn it around, it lands, done. Or sometimes it's, that's not going to work for us. Just move on. Enjoy the trend from other people and move on. So it becomes a really cool space for them. The more it becomes a cool space, the better the content performs too, because all of that stuff we put on ourselves is gone then, right?
And we're seeing that the way that businesses are interacting with brands across the platform, where they're not looking for large scale following anymore. They're looking for those micro influencers or people that are being real.
Yeah,
Right?
they're
Real, being themselves on the spaces.
Like Instagram started that cool thing where if you go onto your followers, it'll actually show you at the top how many of your followers have deactivated their accounts. Now, not because
it's great. I removed them.
It's so cool.
It's
I know, it's
great.
brilliant. And someone posted the other day and they were like, oh, I've lost like 500 followers. They had a very large following. And they followed up by going, yeah, I found this deactivated account button. And I was like, well, yeah, that's brilliant. Your engagement is going to be so much better now because you don't have dead accounts anymore. You know, your engagement number is different to your follower number. And another thing business owners don't realize. I also think we're weird about numbers as people. You know, we say, oh, I need big numbers. Big is better, right? But the average engagement rate is actually really low. But our mindset is very odd. Unless it's pushing close to 100%, we think we're failing. But when I have that engagement rate conversation, I'm like, no, you're doing really well. And they're like, yeah, 1.5%. Your average is 1.7. So what do you want me to say? You're high. Our mindset is weird around numbers.
I think the platform didn't help with that, especially with Instagram, because you had to have the 10,000 followers before you could use some of the tools. And then they took that away, which then meant there was all these people that had followers that weren't.
Yeah. And the new one is you need 1,000 followers to go live. But
exactly.
I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. We need more controlled lives.
And I think that when we look at it from a Facebook perspective as well, that it used to be that engagement, organic engagement was great. And then that went completely as they wanted people using advertisement. And then it went down to a 0.6% engagement rate. And that's pretty standard. And so we're asking people to look at the data, but we're not looking at the data in the sense of the ego. It's really hard to explain, but it's not. It's about what's working well with the customer at that specific time that they've seen that piece of content. So you're looking at the demographic, the timing, the type, and where that's posted as being important. It's interesting.
And then also understanding that next week, that'll look completely different. And everything you've learned is not going to count anymore.
And there's no set way to do it. And I think that's where, if people are buying in or investing into help or support with it, is to not be bought into do it this way and it will work. Because it doesn't work like that. Marketing doesn't work like that. It's looking and working with
exactly. And I guess that's the mindset shift too, because if we think, again, the olden day piece, I remember even just 5-6 ago, my years ago in the business, it was like people were coming to me asking me for like a 12-month content plan. And even at the time, I was like, well, absolutely not. How is someone promising you a 12-month content plan? That's never going to work. We're now even, 3 months is a push. We'll work on a 3-month basis, but that month 2 and 3 it's got stuff in, but it's not tied down, because you cannot predict that far ahead in the marketing world anymore. So there's a piece about how do we teach agility as well,
like
mindset and agility,
mindset, agile mindset, dealing with ambiguity, all of these competencies that are human traits that cannot be replicated within an AI space. And so again, we have to be more human in the world of AI, and going and thinking about those human skills that we have learned, behavior from our experience. How do we bring that and interact with the tools to be able to help us and market our business? So we can talk about this for absolutely ages.
I just saw the time. I was like, oh my God, we're good.
I'm like, oh my goodness. So let's finish up by sharing 3 tips that people can use when they're thinking about their content, strategy, repurposing. What can we share to finish up the episode today?
Cool. First one, I've probably spoken about this throughout, but start with strategy always. We're not looking at what's going to, not just good content, start with strategy. Understand your business, understand your marketing strategy, and understand your target audience, number 1. I would also encourage business owners to think about platform-specific needs, target audience-specific needs, and not just format. So it's back to your question, should people be doing video images? Well, Depends on your audience. When's the best time to post? Don't know. Depends on your insights. So think platform, think target audience specific when it comes to creative. And you always use AI to support and not replace. Use it to help you be more human. Let it take away that kind of admin jobs that drag us down so that we can show up more as the business owner people see in real life.
Yeah, I love it. So simplify, really, and strategize.
Yeah. Understand your
human.
why. Understand your why and don't be afraid to be you. You've started a business for reasons, so go find that reason and share it with the world.
Oh man. Take it back to why you did it, right? The why. Start with why, as Simon Sinek says, right?
Yeah.
Start with why. That's it.
Exactly.
So people can connect with you, Suz, on your social platforms. You've got your website, birdandemmy.co.uk/start here. That will be in the show notes where people can connect and really start that conversation with you. But you're best to send a DM to Suz at Instagram at Suz A Bird. Suz A Bird, I shouldn't say, but Suz A Bird, and connect and start that conversation with Suz about how she can help you starting with your strategy, your repurposing, and really getting into the nitty-gritty of your business, right?
Yes.
Why?
The good stuff.
The good stuff. Such a great conversation. Thank you so much, Suz. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you, Suz.
And we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Digital Dominators. I hope today's episode gave you something practical or at least a bit of a boost to keep things going in this mad digital world. If you're enjoying the podcast, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming up. There's loads more good stuff on the way and some brilliant guests lined up too. And if you fancy going a bit deeper, come and join the Digital Dominators community. It's totally free and it's where I share bonus trainings, podcast extras and tools to help you build confidence with your digital skills. You'll also get access to my social media prompt calendar so you can finally stop staring at that blank screen wondering what to post. Just head to technologycoachingonline.com/digital dominators to get started. Alright, that's it from me just now. Stay curious, keep showing up, and I'll catch you in the next one.